Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Chris Lamb with MicroSolved here in Columbus, Ohio, and today I'm joined with Brent Huston. He is our CEO and Security Evangelist here at MicroSolved. And we have a few quick questions. It'll be a real short video today to talk about SCADA security. So, first off, Brent, thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me, as always.
The first question is, what are the security needs for ICS and SCADA systems?
Well, I think when you look at it, it's not a lot different in terms of the primary goals of information security. So they have needs for confidentiality, integrity, availability, but they rate them differently. Availability in ICS and SCADA is far more critical than confidentiality. They still have integrity needs that have to be maintained. So in terms of the requirements, the goals, I think they're very close to the same. I think that along those lines, though, we have to embrace the differences in architecture. The traditional ICS and SCADA systems, you've got a ton of legacy equipment out there. We've got a slow transitioning product line. You've got infrastructure that has a much longer life cycle, sometimes upwards of 20 years. So we don't always have cutting edge capabilities for some of those mechanisms. So I think the security needs there, we've got to get in place. We've got to do some prevention stuff where we can make this sort of as difficult as possible to compromise. I think we also have to go in and do some detection so that we know when bad things are happening in the environment. And I think we have to train folks in response. Now, response has always been an ICS strong point in terms of safety. We've always had sort of incident response training for when bad things happen that could result in the loss of a human life or something like that. But I think we need to hone those same skills and sort of identify those same messages when it comes to cyber, if you will, as a form of response. And we need to bring some of those folks who are ICS and SCADA engineers and architects and operators up to speed on what cyber events look like and what IT-centric kind of events look like and how to respond to those. So I think if you look at that at the holistic standpoint, it really comes back to we've got to do the basics around information security for ICS. Many of those seem to have been lagging for a few years, and I think it's critical that we kind of start to address those.
I agree. Secondly, so how are current how are ICS and SCADA organizations currently handling their security services?
So many organizations today, as we've gone to these different working groups, we've worked with federal, state, and local governments and private groups. There seems to be a complete separation in many cases. You've got the typical IT business network and IT security staff that's managing that. And then typically you've got these SCADA folks who are operators and asset owners, and they're sort of doing their own thing. And we're starting to see as an industry where, frankly, you've got folks from both sides of the house trying to engage, trying to talk. I think everybody now realizes there's a need to bring security to the ICS and SCADA side. What they're having problems with, frankly, is sort of engaging together, finding common ground, staying engaged. The IT business security folks, they probably have good vendor relationships from managed security providers. They probably have strong audit relationships, and so they're trying to drive some of that stuff into the product line and into the ICS environments with some success. Now, MSI, as you know, we've been able to do some of that with a variety of services. The good news is, after 20 years in this business, we speak both business security and, of course, we have that sort of ICS background from the Department of Energy. So we're able to kind of go in, liaison between them, bring services back and forth between them, and help them find common baselines and ways to apply the basics of information security to the ICS part in a way that doesn't really overwhelm the staff on the security team of the business side and doesn't interfere with their business process. So that's the model that we'd like to see, and certainly there are other vendors out there that are doing some of this as well, but it's difficult to find vendors that have the depth of experience in both the IT security side and the ICS side like we do.
Well, thank you. That leads me to my last and final question, which is, why would someone choose HoneyPoint Managed Services through MSI?
Well, HoneyPoint is sort of an interesting thing that we offer for ICS. Now, honeypots in general have been embraced by the ICS community. They go back way back into the early 90s. In, I believe it was 1999, they were actually published into the NIST handbook. They refer to them as canaries. So there's been a strong history of using them for specific kinds of detection in ICS control systems. What HoneyPoint does, because of our unique distributed honeypot architecture, it allows us to distribute a variety of honeypots around different parts of the architecture, both the business network, the perimeter sections, and deep inside of the SCADA itself, and monitor all of that centrally. So that's been a huge piece of it, of why we've been so successful there and gotten so much traction. We also have the ability to do such a wide variety of nuanced detections, not just traditional canary behaviors where we drop a piece of software that looks to be a vulnerable ICS or SCADA component, and it waits to be scanned or probed. But we also have tools like WASP that do whitelist detection on jump hosts and can look for code that's never been seen before. We've got the ability to emulate PLCs. We've got tools to speak Modbus and detect Modbus traffic. We've also got then all of the traditional honeypot IT-centric tools that can be deployed around to emulate fake HMIs, fake portals, and a variety of other business services that can be deployed around items like the historian, those types of tools as well. And all of that data can be shared amongst the SCADA group and the business security group, or it can be divided, and the SCADA stuff can be specific to the SCADA operators. So we've got this really nice flexibility that is sort of built into the product line in its adoption and use. And I think that's really what drives folks to adopt it in the ICS space.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today. As always, you can check us out on MicroSolved.com. Our blog is at stateofsecurity.com, and we can follow Brent on Twitter at
LB Huston.
All right. And you can find me at GetInfoSec here on Twitter as well. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll stay safe out there. Bye-bye.
Take care.